Welcome to Life Conversations with Senior Helpers, the podcast that takes you on a heartfelt journey through the art of aging gracefully. Join our hosts, Christina Chartrand and David Chandler, as they engage in candid and compassionate discussions about both the joys and challenges of growing older. Tune in to gain valuable tips, expert advice, and essential resources that empower you or your loved ones to embrace the beauty in every stage of life. Let's embark on these enlightening conversations together. Here are your hosts, David and Christina.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Life Conversations with Christina Chartrand and
David Chandler. Welcome, everyone.
So glad to have everyone on today. We have a very special guest who I met quite a few years ago, and we have stayed in touch for a long time. I will bring it up on air. We did meet at an airport bar and started talking about what we both did. And I was fascinated by her work and her mission and the company. Well, first, her name is Beth Sanders, and you all see it written down. It's Beth Sanders, but her company is called LifeBio. And this is a one woman, when she started show to get this thing going, to really talk about preserving stories and memories that can be passed down through generations. And so welcome, Beth.
Well, thank you for having me. It's so good to be here.
Yeah,
So
Beth,
glad
we're
to
really
have you.
excited to have you on. So will you tell us a little bit about yourself and LifeBio, what your mission is there, what you're accomplishing? So excited about. I was in senior living for a number of years, and I wish I would have had LifeBio then. But I'm so glad to be knowing and understanding what this is now, and so excited to have you share about this with our listeners.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. You know, this whole thing kind of started out as a personal mission, and now it's grown to a national and international company that helps people tell their life stories everywhere. And over the years, it's kind of evolved and, started out as one woman kind of shop and then grew and grew. And we have now over 20 some people working here, and we're just helping people everywhere. So, but you know what? It started back in Erie, Pennsylvania, which is my hometown. And I had a degree in English and journalism, and I came home to Erie, PA. I would have been about 24, I think. And my grandmother lived in this little mother-in-law suite in the backyard. The original house is in the backyard of where my parents at that time were living, and my mother still lives there today. She's 82 now, and I'm 55 now. But at the time, I was 24. My grandmother out back was 85, and she had maybe early, onset of dementia coming, or dementia's starting to happen. She's forgetting things here and there. And I said to my mother, when are we going to tell Grandma's life story? She said, here's the tape recorder, go. And so she, in a nice way told me I better go do it. And I thought, I don't even know what to talk about. I don't know how to do this. I'm a journalist, but I don't know how to interview my grandma. So what do I do? So I just ended up taking the tape recorder out there and sitting with her, and off the top of my head, trying to figure out what to say. And of course, she could do this brilliantly. And of course, that day I went, unbelievable. Grandma, you're a whole person. Whoa. Like one time you were my age. Shocking. So much of information happened that day. In fact, I learned about the flu epidemic of 1918 that day. I heard about the first airplane she had ever seen as a very small child. I heard about how she taught in a one-room schoolhouse. I mean, I had lived with her in my same street growing up, and I never knew her. And so I walked out of her house and went, if I don't know my grandma, then who knows her grandma? We have to know our grandma, and we have to know our parents and our favorite aunt and uncle and our best friend. And, so how can whoever we are out there get our story told. So yeah, this was a, here, I think you can see this. This is a picture of my grandma. And that is taken about the time I interviewed her in her chair out back. So,
Oh my gosh.
So she's the inspiration. She was the first LifeBio, let's say. So I was able to take that and, publish it for our family to have. And so
I love that. And you know what, the word that just popped at me, and I feel like is that you saw she was a whole person. And I just had a little aha moment, Beth, that I think sometimes when we are, with and our aging loved one and or just a senior that, let's say, one of our caregivers are caring for, is that we're just seeing the snapshot of what it is right then and not understanding just all of the life that they've had, and how important that is.
Yeah.
I loved hearing that. I just got chills just hearing you share about getting to know her and hearing those stories. So will you tell us a little bit more about LifeBio, how you took this story and what it's turned into?
Yes. So at the time, I first used this tape recorder. Then one of the things we did was, now decades of we've been around now 24 years, and we created a website called LifeBio.com. And I created this book called The Memory Journal. And it had 200 some questions in it. Remember, I was like, okay, what do I ask? What do I say? I don't know. So just took a lot of time, and there's different revisions of it over time with questions and then a place to write answers in. And the website was built, LifeBio.com was built to help people type in their memories. So we were the first online biography website. And I remember thinking, wow, we should video record and do all this. But that was so expensive. And video is a bit unforgiving, let's say, right? If like this, right? Somebody might edit this, right? So people didn't mind, it was okay to type it or to write it. But over time, I know that audio was so incredible. And so now in 2024, people use the LifeBio Memory app. So it's 2 words, LifeBio space memory. It's in the App Store, and people can download the app for free and try it out. And now their voice is being recorded. So audio is recorded, and then we use machine learning and AI and all this fancy stuff. So the modern day tape recorder gives people a question, and then they answer it, and then we are able to process that and build books out of it. So,
oh my gosh,
it's so fun! Like this,
I cannot wait to download it and give it to my mom, because she started with the typing part, and then afterwards, she is going to love this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to love it. And our family is going to love it, because she's the oldest person in our family right now with all that history. Oh my gosh, Beth, I had no idea.
Oh, it's evolved so far. And I'm going to see if I can share this with you really quick. Let's see. Let me go find it. I'm going to pull up the app and just show it on screen for a second. Okay. Yeah. It's like, it does this. Let me see if I can get it to, it'll even talk. So 1 second, let me see if I can get it to,
That is just the coolest thing. That preservation of stories, and David and I were huge fans of that are seniors and that need to find purpose, right? And they need to have meaningful things to do each day. And this just takes quality of life just to a whole nother level of being able to share their stories.
Yes. Sorry, it was talking. Let me show you this really quick.
Have you ever received an award or a prize? What happened?
And then they just click to record. Ta-da!
And then it uploads to your site, and then that's how you're creating all the memories.
Yeah. That's
super easy to use.
Excited.
Beth, do they get to pick which questions are asked, or how many choices of questions do they have?
There's about 280 some questions inside.
Wow.
So,
Do
like,
they scroll through and pick the question that they want to talk about?
well, it has a start here that allows them to see just a general flow of questions. And then they can also choose to go into topics, which are things like childhood or hobbies and interests or exercise or family. So they can scroll through, let's say somebody was in the military or they want to talk about love and relationships. Like I went into military, for example.
What was the greatest honor you experienced during your military service?
Okay. So
Gosh.
yeah, so there's like a general, like we know nobody wants to answer all of them. I mean, well,
Right.
But yeah,
Beth,
for your mom, she may have just certain things she would love to talk about. And you can head right to that and she could start there to kind of get warmed up. But
That's so cool.
Beth, this is so amazing. I can only imagine the number of lives that you've impacted and the ways that people leaving a legacy, being able to go back and listen to this. So can you talk about some of the emotional and psychological benefits for memory preservation, both for those who are listening to this as well as for those who are leaving these memories or even just talking about them? It's not just about leaving the memories, but also the benefit of the reminiscing at the current time.
yes, well, we found that it improves mood and people have a sense of happiness and peace from doing this, and that reduces depressive symptoms. Our latest fidelity trial we've actually done research, the evidence shows that it reduces depression. And it makes me think about, I think the reason it works is we're taking someone to a different time. They may be 8 years old again, running in the creek and playing with their friends and, playing baseball back in their mind, right? I think you take people to a place. One of the ladies that comes to mind is, she said, I'm reminded of all the love I've experienced in my life. It's like, wow. When you're having a bad day and then you remember, even I remember my grandma today as I'm talking about her. It's like, dang, that puts you in a good mood, And I will say this, not everybody has had a perfect life. I mean, have you two had a perfect life?
No.
No, I haven't either. And, stuff happens. And sometimes people are ready to talk about some of that and get that off their chest. Sometimes they say, I'm not talking about anything before 1980. I'm not going back. I want to talk. And those are okay. Maybe somebody will just say, hey, I'm going to talk about my work and my children and life now, but that's still really valuable. And I've had people say to me when I've interviewed them, I'll give you 10 minutes. And literally this woman held me to it. Well, I had 10 minutes to interview her and it was awesome. So sometimes our own family members might want to do it, but they don't. They're like, no, I am not answering all of this, but I'll do this much, and that's okay. So, but I think people have a sense of hope and peace when they have legacy is
legacy.
You've said what you wanted to say.
So how does this whole thing? So when they record all of this information, how then is it shared to family members? Where does it come? How does that all work?
Okay, so it can be, the audio can be accessed. The family can log in and just listen to their person's voice. So it's being saved that way.
Wow.
They can replay their audio. We've had people playing their actual LifeBio audio at their funeral, incredible when they share their favorite scriptures or their values directly with their family. That's amazing. And then we create books. So we send back their physical book. And let me see, it should be sitting right here. Let me grab one. Oh, there's so many different styles. Let me see here. Oh, yeah. So we'll produce their book. There's one from Alice that we've done. And, it has this, they're able with the app to upload photos. So whatever
Mm.
they say and their photos are uploaded so
Yeah.
people can take a look and see their story. So,
Wow.
yeah.
How
So
many people do you think you've impacted along these
Oh.
years? How many families?
15,000 in a variety of ways, I would say.
Yeah.
You know, many have written it, many have been on the web, many are doing it on the app now. We just recorded over 500 people in nursing homes in Minnesota and Texas
Wow.
using the app. So that
So
was,
you do some like specialty grant type of where you're going in and working with specific populations, right? Tell us a
yeah,
little bit about that.
yeah. So we do civil monetary penalty grants, or it's called a CMP grant. And these are state grants that exist out there to improve the quality of care and quality of life for people living in nursing homes. So it's really amazing to just see them receive. It's really incredible to go into nursing homes and interview people, and you know, it's like, wow. I mean, all I can say is wow. You just come away from it changed. Well, everything. I mean, working with older adults,
Mm-hmm.
every day you're just getting so much out of learning from them, and um, just so much wisdom. Okay, is all I can say. And even people that have dementia in some ways, or early
Yeah.
stages, have the best advice to give. It's like, and their unfiltered amazingness is coming through. So
Mm-hmm.
you would think, although there are many people living in all kinds of, care settings, and
Yeah.
home or in these kinds of settings, to have um, physical things going on, but they're able to share fine. And especially if you go way back, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it's just incredible.
And those are the memories, I think, for so many people that they didn't know anything. They didn't know about them, right? They had no idea of the experiences that their parents or their grandparents had. And especially if there is some cognitive impairment, when they go back, those stories are so clear, so vivid, right?
Right.
That and it feels so good. You can see the smile or their face, and it feels so good for them to be able to share it and articulate, because they can articulate it so well. I really love that.
And some people think they can't, though, Christina.
Mm.
And I think it's worth a shot,
Yeah.
because sometimes they'll be able to express how they felt. They may not remember the details, but they
Mhm.
remember how they felt. Like one example I've given before is a guy telling me all about his wedding day for 30 minutes in a memory care unit, but he didn't know when or where, and any. But it was a hot day. Here's what he was
Mhm.
wearing. It was
Mhm.
she was beautiful, and just going on and on. So,
Oh.
or I had a woman who was sharp as a tack, and she had polio as a child. Not as a child, sorry, as a young mother, she had polio
Mm.
and was treated there at the Mayo Clinic, and go into great detail about what it was like to have that, to be, I think, in the iron lung, as I recall, and then
Mhm.
coming out of that, and how she proved herself she could do things again, and got just incredible. People who have, been in World War II and liberated concentration camps, and
Mhm. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
just so many people roll through my mind, and just the funny things people have done as children that they recall. Oh, you know what? Sometimes people say, I have nothing to say. And I'll be like, well, then don't talk about you. But I want to hear about your grandparents.
Oh, that's great.
Like,
Yeah.
your grandchildren they don't know anything about your grandparents or
Mhm.
even your parents. So that is right when you think, and that got me. The day I interviewed my grandma, she told me about her grandmother and could recall like last conversations and that.
Yeah.
What? I will never know this woman. I won't
No.
know. This is the only way I'll know this person is through my grandmother's memory of her. How intense is I now know something about my great great grandmother. Oh, she was a very good quilter.
Hmm.
Good to know. I mean, I don't know a lot, but I know something. So
So neat. That's awesome.
yeah.
So what is the app seems just so on point for technology these days, but do you have future thoughts around what you're going to do with LifeBio and how it can support and help other people?
Yes. So we were just awarded it's called the National Institute on Aging has these grants, federal grants. And this next thing we're building is called LifeBio Talk. And it's going to be an engagement platform for people with memory challenges. And I can't tell you all of it because it's not done yet, but we're inventing something completely new and very fascinating. And I think you're going to love it. So I'll have to come back on the show sometime.
For
Yes,
sure.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. That really is, and
Yeah.
so needed, right? And the other thing I think about David is like with this is so positive. There's nothing negative about this. This is all a positive thing for so many people, and anyone can participate in it. And I'm very excited about it.
So Beth, where can people go to learn more information? They want to get their hands on this. I know you mentioned the app.
Yeah.
What are some other ways that people can access this and be able to share it with their loved ones?
Well, maybe they just want to call 866 LifeBio and go, okay, here's my situation. What should I do? I'm techie, I'm not techie. I like apps. I like the website. I like journaling. We have even these little what's your story cards that are really fun and make a really good gift for
like a road trip game.
Road trip. Yeah, let's see. Let's see what questions if I was here with you in person, I could start to do. I could say pick a card, any card, right? Let's see. What's your here's a great question for you, David. What's your favorite memory of an ocean, a lake, or a river?
Oh gosh. When I was in high school, we did a family trip to Deep Creek Lake in Western Maryland, and it was my uncle's family and my cousins, and we just had this big, massive house. We spent time out on the water. The bears got into our trash can one time, and we went tubing for the first time. And that's a great one to sit and talk about. And I haven't thought about that in a while. So, yeah.
See, we learned something new about you too. And
Wow,
it made me smile and laugh. That's great.
Yeah.
And the bears.
You got to give one to Christina now.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's see. Do you want his question or you want a different one?
Oh, no. I want a different question.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. Did you ever deliver newspapers?
No, I didn't, but my brother did. And my brother, at that time, there were two paper routes. There was a morning route and there was an evening. There was an evening paper too. And that's how popular papers were. And so I remember he did both of them. And we'd get out and he'd have this little sash over with all his papers, and he'd be riding his bike and just whipping them, and it was all about the whip, to get it up on the porch.
Wow.
Did you have to help him?
No, I didn't help him, but we heard the bang at the door.
Okay.
Paper's here.
Paper's here. You would hear, bam, the paper. Yeah. You would know when the paper was here. So funny. I have not thought about that either.
Okay, here's one more for you because that one was your brother did that, but that was good. Did you ever risk your life or do something dangerous? What happened?
I feel like as a teenager, I was stupid about some things. And I think my lives were probably questioned. If I had 9 lives, I'm sure a few were taken out.
Okay.
In my teenage and early 20 years, where I just wasn't thinking as smart as I should. So that's probably the for sure riskiest time in my life, probably like most people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I can't say them on the air what was happening.
Oh, no, don't. Yeah, that one was. Okay. All right, David, giving you one more here. What's your favorite memory of a movie theater or a drive-in theater?
Oh gosh.
One of those?
All right, I may get in trouble for this one, but one of my first dates in high school was going to see The Ring.
Okay.
So that was what came to mind was just going to the movies with friends in high school, and we would sometimes we would sneak around and do double features. This is stuff that I'm going to get in trouble for, Christina.
I know. I know.
And another
my
friend
gosh.
who worked in the theater, and gosh, she would get us into all the movies. We'd just say, "Hey, we're going to be there," and okay, go on, lift up the little curtain for us, and in we go. So.
That is so crazy. Just in this little short thing that we did, how fun is that, right? Just to talk about memories like that, and just shows the power of it. Like, I learned something about David today, and David learned a little something about me today, but I don't know, you're right. I feel the endorphins and serotonin level just kicked up.
Yes, it's good for us. It's good for us. Yep. Okay, what else do we need to talk about today? Let's see. Did we cover our questions?
I think we did. Yeah. So Beth, any thoughts or advice as we're wrapping? I mean, this was such a fun episode. We definitely need to have you back on
for sure
when we get this done in the future. Maybe we can even I don't know. We'll find some other fun things to do. But what are some parting thoughts that you have for our listeners?
Okay. Well, I'm just going to wrap it up with the power of story helps us to know, flow, and grow. Okay. So when we know another person deeply and see them holistically, it matters. And there's an old saying that says every time an old person dies, it's like a library burns down. And we just have to know people. We must. While we have the chance. People are amazing, and we want to know our parents, grandparents, our friends, family. Flow. The power of story helps us live abundantly and love more deeply. We get a chance to affirm somebody else's life. If we're the one telling the story, we're going to teach someone else something amazing. I mean, we've got to take the bull by the horns and tell our kids and grandkids things that they need to know. I mean, it's like, hey, I have a story for you. Listen to me. Are you ready? Put down your phone. Listen if you have something to say. So let it flow and then grow. We really change and expand our perspective. We walk in somebody else's shoes. We help others grow because older people can tell younger people can tell older people things and allows us to give back and help others. So that is a good way to wrap it up. We just know, flow, and grow.
Awesome. Well, Beth, you have such an amazing story. You're an amazing person. You have an amazing calling and gift, and you've blessed so many people. So thank you so much. Oh my gosh.
Thank you. I will say, I feel that I have been divinely inspired to do this, and I have been, really, really blessed through the years to get the chance to know people and to get to know you. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. What a pleasure.
Well, we will look forward to having you on again. And for our listeners, we will look forward to seeing you on our next episode of Life Conversations.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Life Conversations with Senior Helpers. We hope this discussion has inspired you to embrace aging gracefully and independently. For more resources, tips, and expert insights, please visit us online at seniorhelpers.com. Stay connected, keep learning, and continue cherishing the moments that make life truly special. We're here to support you every step of the way. Until next time.